All right, for today's workflow remodel, we're going to be talking with Nathan. Nathan's been working on a blog, and he's been having a really hard time fitting in enough time to be able to meet the timeline. I keep talking about time because time is a big part of the workflow. But his goal is to reach the Project 24 timeline of reaching a full-time income in just 24 months. And he's struggling to fit in enough time each day to be able to write the content he needs to write. So today we're going to remodel his blogging workflow so that he can fit it in.
Nathan?
Hey, Ricky.
Hey,
how's it going?
Good to meet you. I'm excited to talk to you about your workflow.
Yeah, come on in. You're very welcome here.
All right, so Nathan, I'm really excited to get to work with you on this project of remodeling your workflow. But tell me to get started, this will help me with my design. What is it that you're really trying to accomplish with your blog?
So I really just want to follow the Project 24 timeline. I want to start probably, 3 to 4 response posts, just to get me started. And then after a couple months, maybe tone it back a little bit so I can just write 1 or 2 a week and then work on, EAT, monetization, and those types of things.
Hoping to hit that goal in 24 months?
Yep,
awesome.
That's the goal.
So then what does your workflow, what does it look like today? What are the things about your workflow that are the biggest struggle for you?
Really, as far as workflow goes, I'm really focused on time. I have like 1 to 2 hours a day, probably. It's really hard to get a whole article written in one sitting. I'll start a little bit here. I get distracted pretty easily. I'll try to start a little bit later, but it's just really hard to get through it all.
Now, if we could adjust your routine, would there be a way to maybe get up slightly earlier each day for a little while to be able to make that more like a 2-hour block of time fairly consistent?
I think so. I'd have to move some things around, but I think it'd be possible.
Awesome. Well, based on that, I've designed a bit of a workflow for you. I want to run through this with you. So I want you to have 2 hours of solid work time. This is so that more often you are going to be able to finish a whole blog post. Now, during this time, it's not necessary to do the same thing every day. We don't need to write a blog post each time we do this. But what we do want to do during this time is anything that we can batch. So writing blog posts, sometimes it could be taking photos. You might have photos that you're going to be taking at home, maybe of products, maybe of specific activities, whatever it is. Take photos for a bunch of blog posts at the same time. Search analysis is another one to batch. If you have to sit down and come up with a topic to write today, that's going to take up too much of your time. You're not going to get very far in the writing process. So come up with all of your topics together at once. Come up with 10, 20, or even 30 ideas. And then you're going to be able to sit down and write when it's time to put those 2 hours together. And then the other one that I would do is specific research. What I find is that it can be a huge time saver to write maybe in the course of a week, multiple articles that are all closely related topically. So if you can do a bunch of search analysis, then now we can spend 2 hours sort of batching specific research. Maybe you want to create an experiment that will be applicable to 3 or 4 blog posts. Okay, the next is during short bursts of time you have available during the day. During those times, that's when I want you to do some other activities. The first one will be high-level research. This is just getting to know your niche better. So listening to podcasts, watching YouTube videos. We're not necessarily looking for specific facts or quotes or statistics. We're kind of just looking to understand the niche a lot better. Watch or even listen to YouTube videos, just learn everything that you can. Now, if right now you're focused on a specific category within your niche, it could be a great opportunity to do high-level research for just that category too. It's gonna make writing so much faster.
So during these short bursts of time, is this like where I get to check my analytics and stuff too?
You would think so, but actually I'm gonna say no. I don't actually want you looking at your Google Analytics right now, at least for a few months. And that's because it doesn't add any value. When the numbers are fairly small, that any shift from day to day looks huge, and that doesn't really help you. What's really helpful is a little bit later when we have some real data to be able to see which blog posts do well. In Google Search Console, we can see what search queries are leading to our articles, but until you have enough data to actually act on, that's just a distraction. So don't waste time on that. We'll save that for a bit later.
That makes a lot of sense.
This is also a good opportunity to look for affiliate opportunities. You could even potentially sometimes take a few minutes and just add affiliate links to existing blog posts you already wrote, add links to some of those older articles. Also during this time, I want you to note down opportunities for future articles, affiliate products, anything like that. One of the easiest ways to do this is to start a Google Doc full of notes. And then Google Docs has a great dictation tool. So you just click the little microphone and you can just speak right there into your phone and say whatever it is, whatever note you want to have. So it might be an idea for an article that you just need to go validate later to make sure it has some search volume. Another thing we're going to do during this time is to take relevant photos. If you're out and about doing things and there's a photo you could take, just pull out your phone, snap a picture. Unique photos for your blog posts are going to be way more valuable than stock images. And then the last thing we're going to make sure we do during this sporadic time, we could do some industry outreach once it makes sense to do that. During when you're writing your first 30 articles or so, there's not a whole lot of relevant industry outreach. But once you have some content on your website, this could be a great time to quick write up a little email or find a couple other people that you know you want to reach out to later and make a note of that.
Cool.
A couple other things of note, and these are going to apply to any blogger's workflow. The first is that most people, they found that they were most effective at writing in the mornings. So if you have to pick morning or evening, morning works best for most people. That's not everyone, but most people. So that's why I asked if you thought you could get yourself up an hour earlier. But if you find you're a real night owl, then maybe you're going to move it to the other end of the day. And then the next one is if you find that there are things that you do, it could be for your blog, for your business, it could be, but also around the house, things that you're doing that take your time that could be easily outsourced. Maybe we want to consider outsourcing some of those things to free up more time in your day for that workflow. It could be yard maintenance, mowing the lawn. A lot of Project 24 members told me that they actually have somebody come in once a week or even every couple of weeks to do the dusting, the vacuuming, the mopping, that kind of stuff. So that can be a really good one to outsource.
Sorry, this is great news. I just got a job offer, but it's going to be really busy. I'm only going to have like an hour a day now to work on my blog. I thought I was going to have like 2 hours.
Yeah, even with getting up earlier?
Yeah.
Dang. Okay, well, let's look at this plan here. Okay, I just made a couple of adjustments. Most of what I said is going to be the same. You're going to want to make sure you're using that kind of sporadic free time to your benefit. But now we're gonna have less free time for those block tasks, right? A couple of things that I would recommend doing. One is, as often as possible, try to schedule specific time for work sessions. So if it's an hour in a day or maybe 2 hours on a Saturday, make sure that that time is set aside so you can have occasionally uninterrupted batch time. As often as possible, we want to finish a blog post, do all the writing at once. So another thing that you could do is you could use that voice dictation we talked about in those notes, but you could also use that to outline a blog post just throughout the day. You could come up with what are maybe the subheadings for the blog post or what are the things I want to cover in the blog post so that when it's time to write, you can literally just sit down and write the content. So I like voice dictation for taking notes. I like it for outlining. Even for just like putting my thoughts down. And one more thing that I'm going to recommend. Normally I wouldn't say this if somebody's just getting started blogging. If you're not going to have time to be able to write very many blog posts per week, it's going to be difficult to meet that timeline that you told us that you want to meet, right? What I would recommend is, at least for some of your content, consider outsourcing to a good service, people who actually know how to write good blog posts with original content and do original research. ContentWarrior.com is an amazing, just a really great example of that. Now, what that's going to do is it's going to free up a little bit more of your batch time to do your own search analysis, to write some of your own content, as well as to review the content they're writing and make sure it fits your style, matches it before you hit publish on those articles.
I think I could do that. I am going to get a raise.
There you go.
Wait. I think I jumped the gun a little bit. The offer was rescinded.
Oh,
so
okay.
I don't have a job anymore.
Oh.
My wife's not going to be happy about this. But the good news is I think I have probably like all day to spend on my blog, at least 4 hours, 4 to 6 hours a day. Maybe I'll have to do some job hunting in between, but
I can imagine you're probably going to want this to go a little faster than 2 years.
I'm going to need this to work out fast.
Okay. All right. So a couple other things I'm going to do with your workflow. The first thing here is just a high level. We still want to make sure we follow a workflow. So whether you have just 3 or 4 hours available per day, or maybe you can do this full time, you still need to have a plan for your time. A lot of people go full time on blogging eventually. And when they do, they find out really quickly that all their time gets filled up. And it's because, for the most part, it's not all planned out. They suddenly think they have all this time, And so they start coming up with all these other projects and cool things they could do for their website. And then they stop focusing on the main important tasks. Number one is we're going to keep the workflow. The next thing is we're going to want to increase the amount of content we put out. You may not need to outsource at this point, but you still might want to, simply to get more content faster. But also for yourself, you might put in a couple of batches per day so that now instead of one article, we could potentially write 2 articles some days. A lot of people really struggle to do all of that at one time, to sit down for 4 hours or 6 hours and just write all day. So maybe consider breaking up that time. Do 2 hours and then do other important things, running errands and things you need to do. And then we'll come back and add a second block of time. The next thing is to help speed this up. We're going to use some of that extra time you have available now to do more industry outreach and start earlier. The more industry outreach we can do, we're talking about participating in your industry. We're talking about reaching out to people who have podcasts and getting yourself interviewed on their podcasts. Anything you can do to sort of participate faster is going to help build your authority and get more traffic to your site a lot sooner. Also, I want you to consider adding a video workflow to your process. So maybe instead of writing 2 articles a day, we're going to write an article and then we're going to spend some time working on video so we can publish some video content. A lot of people are reluctant to do that, but I got to tell you, YouTube is one of the ways that we can really speed up this process. If we can add some videos that really supplement the blog content, we're going to get traffic to the website and build authority way faster and be able to monetize in some of the more productive ways, the ways that make more money. We're going to be able to monetize those a lot sooner. So this will be a great workflow for you.
Yeah, that sounds awesome.
Lastly is when you have a little bit more time available, it becomes a little bit less important to batch all the articles by topic if you find that that's boring. It still has a huge productivity benefit to write 3 or 4 articles in a row that are on the same topic. You save a ton of time on research. But some people have said that they find that's really boring, so it's not very sustainable for them. And what's more important is that you create this workflow in a way that you can do it from day to day without totally burning out. So you need to use this workflow and design your schedule around it so that you can do it from day to day to day without it really destroying all of your motivation to keep this up. So Nathan, what do you think about that workflow? Does that sound exciting to you?
Yeah, I'm really excited. It looks like it's going to be a ton of work, but I think that if I just can get in there and get it done, consistently, I think I'll be able to do it.
Yeah, and you're right. It is a ton of work. I got to tell you, in Project 24, our members just finished up an awesome challenge. We do it a couple times a year. Call it the Content Warrior Challenge, where the goal is to write 60,000 words in a month, 30 days. Yeah,
That's a ton of content.
2,000 words every single day. So think about that. I mean, that's like 2 response posts every single day. Wow. So while that's a lot and falls outside of the workflow we just talked about, it's made a huge difference for people because what it's done is it's really allowed them to stretch what they could do within their blogging workflow. And even it's allowed them to stretch to see what more they could actually do to grow their workflow, to be able to actually make more time for building their blogging business. So I have a challenge for you as you try to implement this workflow. And this challenge extends to you. And what the challenge is over the next month to write 15 blog posts. 15, whatever length they need to be for your website. And the reason we want to do this is to get you into a rhythm. I want to get you used to writing content on a regular basis. Several of our members have used this challenge to really launch their website to success. And I really want you to be able to do the same thing too. So over the next several weeks, in each of the videos that we publish here on this channel, go ahead and write in the comments. Just talk about how you're doing. How many blog posts have you written so far? As of today, maybe by the time you watch this video, you've already written one. Go ahead and talk about it in the comments below. And next week, share with us the success that you've had so far. And over the course of the next month, we're all going to work together. We're each going to try to write 15 blog posts. And in the end, we're going to be 15 blog posts further along on all of our individual blogs. So good luck on the challenge. I hope that you will accept it. I know I'm going to be accepting it myself. So we'll see you all in the next video.